I am Anthony from FighterZ, and today we're going to look at a part of the history of Dragon Ball. Begun in the pages of the Japanese version of Shonen Jump magazine, Dragon Ball tells the story of a young boy who travels with a teenage girl around the world to collect the mysterious Dragon Balls. Meeting new friends and enemies, Goku and Bulma get into action fantasy hijinks that ultimately lead to a wish on the Dragon Balls. Over the years, the characters have grown up, started families, and continue to be one of the top entertainment properties in the world. For purposes of simplicity, we will be focusing on products released in North America. In 1988, Dragon Power was released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Fearing that American players would not understand the original story content since it was based upon a manga, the Dragon Ball license material was stripped away and the graphics were altered. Otherwise, this adventure game story is simply Goku and Gang's journey through the first two chapters of the manga. In 1997, Dragon Ball GT Final Bout was released on the Sony PlayStation. The first Dragon Ball 3D fighter, Final Bout allowed players to complete the story of Dragon Ball GT. As they progressed in the story mode, they unlocked additional characters to use in the Versus mode. In 2002, Dragon Ball Z Budokai was released on the Sony PlayStation 2 and later on the Nintendo GameCube. Based in the Zen timeline, this fighting game featured a story that began at the Saiyan Saga and ended with the Android Saga. There was even the inclusion of a few what-if episodes. This game was later released in an HD version on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. In 2003, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Battle 22 was released on the Sony PlayStation. This 2.5D self-shaded fighter followed along with the story of Dragon Ball Z. Players could battle on the ground or in the air. In 2003, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 2 was released on the Sony PlayStation 2 and later on the Nintendo GameCube. The story of this fighting game starts at the beginning of Zen in the Saiyan Saga and continues all the way to the end in the Buu Saga. Attempting to look more like the anime, the character designs were cel-shaded. This game also introduced fusions and what-if fusions to the mix. In 2004, Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3 was released on the Sony PlayStation 2. This fighting game continues with the cel-shaded characters, but now adds story elements from Dragon Ball GT, and the Dragon Ball movies. This game was later released in an HD version on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. In 2005, Dragon Ball Z Sagas was released on the Nintendo GameCube, Microsoft Xbox, and the Sony PlayStation 2. This adventure role-playing game followed the story of Zen from the Saiyan Saga to the Cell Game Saga. Players controlled different characters in a third-person view as they completed various goals to move the story forward. In 2005, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi was released on the Sony PlayStation 2. A fighting game, players progressed through the Zen story and eventually found themselves combating giant enemies. This game also introduced a third-person view rather than the typical side view as in the Budokai series. In 2006, Super Dragon Ball Z was released on the Sony PlayStation 2. A cel-shaded 3D fighter, this game mirrored the manga art style of the original comic books. While covering story elements and characters from the entirety of Zen, the game was more focused on being a Street Fighter clone in play style. In 2006, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2 was released on the Sony PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo Wii. A continuation of the visual concepts established in Budokai Tenkaichi, this fighting game introduced on-screen transformations as opposed to only being able to choose them in the character select screen. The Wii version offered motion controls. In 2007, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was released on the Sony PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo Wii. The third game in this series using the same visual style, this fighting game added story elements from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball GT, and the Dragon Ball movies and What If episodes. In 2008, Dragon Ball Z Burst Limit was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. This 3D fighter focused on the story of Zen from the Saiyan to the Cell sagas. This game is also the first in the series to be in high definition. Its story mode also included additional what-if scenarios. In 2008, Dragon Ball Z Infinite World was released on the Sony PlayStation 2. This cel-shaded fighting game offered some character customization options in the form of capsules. It also featured a story mode that focuses on the Zen storyline with additional GT and movie stories. In 2009, Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo was released on the Nintendo Wii. A platforming beat-em-up game, the story occurred during the original Dragon Ball timeline, beginning at the Red Ribbon Army saga and concluding at the end of the King Piccolo saga. In 2009, Dragon Ball Raging Blast was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. This 3D fighter focused on customization with scenarios to complete to unlock items. With a story spanning the entirety of Zen and some what-if scenarios, players can unlock additional characters and transformations. In 2010, Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2 was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. Much like the original Raging Blast, this game is a 3D fighter, but with story elements that expand beyond the Zen storyline into the movies. This game also released with a 30-minute non-canon animated film called Dragon Ball, planned to eradicate the Super Saiyans. In 2011, Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360 and Sony PlayStation 3. This 3D fighting game had manga-style graphics and larger open areas than in previous Dragon Ball fighting games. The story spans through Zen, GT, and the movies. In 2012, Dragon Ball Z for Kinect was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360. A first-person fighting game, players took the role of their favorite characters moving in front of the Kinect camera to perform fighting moves and dodges. Players could also play through the battles from the entire Zen storyline.
Become a Dragon Ball Z warrior in a whole new world of action.
In 2014, Dragon Ball Battle of Z was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360, Sony PlayStation 3, and Sony PlayStation Vita. This 3D fighting game used cards to customize character abilities. The story is intertwined through Zen in the form of missions with the ability to unlock non-canon missions. In 2015, J-Star's Victory Versus was released on the Sony PlayStation 3, Sony PlayStation 4, and Sony PlayStation Vita. An up to 3-on-3 fighting game, this game crossed over the universes of many of the Shonen Jump franchises. With a story mode separated into multiple arcs, the goal is to ultimately defeat the Dark Phantom. In 2015, Dragon Ball Xenoverse was released on the Microsoft Xbox 360, Microsoft Xbox One, Sony PlayStation 3, Sony PlayStation 4, and PC. A limited open-world fighting game, Xenoverse had players traveling through time to correct variations in Dragon Ball history under the leadership of the Supreme Kai of Time. In 2016, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 was released on the Microsoft Xbox One, Sony PlayStation 4, PC, and later on the Nintendo Switch. Continuing where Xenoverse left off, a new threat is altering time and is the player's job to fix it. Still a limited open-world fighting game, the arenas are much larger, more varied, and the story encompasses the broader Dragon Ball universe. In 2018, Dragon Ball FighterZ was released on the Microsoft Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Sony PlayStation 4, and PC. Built upon the Arc System Works fighting engine, this fighting game returned Dragon Ball to its side view roots, but with an anime-inspired design and moveset similar to other Arc games. Characters from Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, and the movies were selectable. In addition, an original character and story linking the Red Ribbon Army and Android sagas together is introduced.
There's no escape!
In 2018, Dragon Ball Z Super Butoden was released on the Nintendo Switch. Originally released on the Super Famicom in Japan in 1993, Super Butoden was a pre-order bonus for those who bought Dragon Ball FighterZ. This fighting game story began at Dragon Ball's Piccolo Jr. saga and concluded at the Cell Game saga in Dragon Ball Z. In 2019, Jump Force was released on the Microsoft Xbox One, Sony PlayStation 4, and PC. Featuring characters from a number of shonen properties, this 3D fighter tells the story of an interdimensional criminal infecting popular manga and anime characters. The player's job is to team up to battle, heal, and recruit characters to ultimately defeat the big bad. In 2019, Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission was released on the Nintendo Switch. Built upon the stories of Dragon Ball Xenoverse and its sequel, this trading card game encourages players to battle and collect cards in which to create strong decks so that they may move the story forward.
Ways to play, and even includes a full-length single-player campaign featuring brand new characters and an original story. In arcade mode, relive your favorite rivalries and
In 2020, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was released on the Microsoft Xbox One, Sony PlayStation 4, and PC. This third-person role-playing game includes real-time fights as players complete the Zen storyline. Additional downloadable content adds Dragon Ball Super and movie story elements. Dragon Ball has been an icon in popular culture for over 35 years with no sign of slowing down. With the establishment of now classic characters and regular product releases, there is still plenty of room for growth in the franchise first established in 1984. Let us hope that Dragon Ball will continue to live on forever. If you have any comments or questions, please post them. Also remember to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.